The Sleepers Podcast, Friday, September 15th. You know what that means. It's Riley Friday, the man with the most voluminous hair on this channel's existence is back. And there's an energy today.
Voluminous?
Yeah, he said that before I clicked record, and I was going to try and steal his shine.
Voluptuous.
No.
Voluminous means like having a lot of volume.
Yeah.
A lot of texture.
Yeah. Don't try to vocab us, Carter, okay? Know your game, my friend. Stick to the men's league highlights and the voiceovers. That was fantastic, by the way. Anyways, there's an energy here, if you can't tell. We're recording this like an hour and maybe more than an hour later than we normally do, which means we're all an hour less asleep than we normally are and an hour more caffeinated. After 2 straight days of no coffee, Cart, I'm happy to report I've got a big coffee in my hands right now. I'm pretty excited about it.
Thank God.
Let's get going. Riley, first of all, great to have you back on the show. How's your week been? You've been doing well?
Yeah, it's been a pretty good week. Glad, as always, to be here. I know that you promoted your overtime sponsorship or your little overtime care package yesterday. I just wanted to say that I'm part of repping the brand today. So consider this a request. I need my care package too. To whoever it is who's your buddy at overtime, I can get you my address. I like Carter's shirt. I'm jealous of Carter's shirt. Hook me up with a real overtime shirt. I don't just want to be wearing my my fake little logo here.
I mean, that's just the perfect transition into what needs to be talked about. Because 1, this shirt is fire. And 2, for what you're going to ask next, yes, I got a haircut yesterday. And yes, it's slapping. But back to what's important. I'm not sure where the winning fixes everything mantra came from, but never, ever have I heard anything that actually is more accurate. Because winning truly does fix everything. Like, if Riley's UNC team won last year, no one would care about what Caleb Love or Hubert Davis did. It truly does fix everything. And as we said yesterday, for any of you who have not seen it already, and honestly, this is a call out to all Pistons fans. If you are a fan of the Pistons, if you are a fan of Asar Thompson, you have to go watch the Overtime Elite documentary on Amazon Prime, One Shot. It's extremely fire. I'm not just saying that because I got the gear on. I was watching it before because I got an inside look at the Thompson twins, and I got an inside look at some of the, I follow high school grassroots, and that's what I like to get a behind the scenes look in on. So I highly recommend everybody go watch it. I think it's 1 season out right now, so you can throw it on, breeze right through it. It's a good time. Highly recommend it. And also, if you are sleeping on overtime gear, you need to stop, because I'll be wearing a couple pieces on the next couple episodes, but like, this shirt's fire. Like, come on now, look at that.
It is
basketball. Fire. A basketball rocking a bucket hat, squaring up with a basketball with a pink cap on. Come on.
I think it's always a success if you design a shirt with an anthropomorphic basketball.
Back. Also, I don't know if y'all can tell right now, but like, this tee is like, do I look slim?
Do you want honesty or?
I mean, a little bit.
You look great, my friend. Anyone who wears that shirt looks great. I would say those basketballs honestly look like a nice little artistic, abstract metaphor for us. Like, the one in the bucket hat is a little more rotund than the one in the pink hat. And I feel like, you and I have been known to argue in hats.
It's very true. The rotund, I'm going to process that one. But ever since you started eating fruit, you're becoming something I'm not sure I'm ready for. But that's on me to prepare. I can't stop your growth.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Great start to the episode. I'm not in my overtime gear, although I also got a nice little care package. Shout out to Cam, by the way. Shout out to Overtime. I was running in my overtime gear, and it got sweaty this morning, so I showered and put something else on. But great for the active lifestyle, great for the podcasting lifestyle. If you want to just sit in a desk chair all day like Carter, you look great in that. If you want to go run and eat fruit like me, you can be comfortable in that. There's a lot of different things you can do. So shout out Overtime. Let's get to the episode. Cart, good YouTube week. Good YouTube week. We've had a lot of good YouTube weeks lately, but especially the last couple days, I feel like we've made the most of some controversy this week in multiple ways. Do you have a comment of the day for this Riley Friday?
I do, but as always, I'm sorry, I'm a little taken back by I've taken like 4 shots already from you, and it's we're not even into the nitty gritty as one might say. But
hey, your barber did elite work though. I'll
Yes.
build you back up. I'll build you back up. Someone has to do it.
That's what I'm talking about, Riley. Can I start calling you Bluffs? Why does everyone call you Bluffs again? What is
I don't
this?
know where Bluffs came from, but I kind of like it. I whatever. I hope it doesn't have like a bad origin because I embrace this random nickname that came out of nowhere.
Bluffs
It's
is
kind
from
of
the
it's
vacation
kind of
spot,
funny.
right? You said you used to go to the Bluffs.
I don't know if I ever said the Bluffs. I said I had a friend who had a vacation spot in Maine. Maybe that's where it came from.
That's what it was for sure. Why? What
Okay.
is Council Bluffs? Is that a thing? In my head, I had Council Bluffs. Nobody knows what that is.
No, maybe you had like a local councilman in Lansing whose last name was Bluffs, but besides that, I've never
I
heard of
thought
that.
Council Bluffs was like where Riley's extended family has owned a summer getaway spot for decades. Maybe
I
I'm
know
wrong.
Arcadia Bluffs.
Nice golf course. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move to the comment card. What do you
Sorry.
got?
I got two comments. They're both short ones, so we can get through them quickly.
Oh, we're doing two today.
Yeah, I want to do two today because it was a good YouTube week.
Okay.
First one, from the name we don't like to bring up, but he's a frequent commenter. What about Chris Beard to Indiana in 2 years? We mentioned Big Ten. Who's going to be the next great Big Ten coach who's not in the Big Ten? What about Chris Beard to Indiana in 2 years? Indiana would be scary if that happens. What do you guys think about that?
Scary is accurate for a lot of reasons. Riley,
That
your
was
thoughts?
that was an alley-oop. I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna not dunk it when you put it right there. That was
fair.
beautiful. What do you like? Do you actually like that fit, Riley? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess I do. I think Chris Beard's going to get out of Oxford as soon as he gets a better offer. Like, and I think he has the NIL infrastructure to be poised for success pretty quickly. I would be willing to bet that Ole Miss makes the tournament this year. But he probably needs another, like, I'd say 2 to 3 years of Ole Miss, maybe have a nice little Sweet 16 run in there and like let the off-court scandals continue to cool down a little bit before a big name comes calling for him. But yeah, I could see that as a fit at Indiana.
He just doesn't strike me as a Big Ten guy, though. I don't know what it is. Like he screams South to me.
For me, it's I don't know. This might be a generalization of a fan base. So if I get cooked by this, that's completely fine. But this is where I'm coming from. It just seems to me that Indiana as an institution and as a fan base wouldn't be able to kind of turn the other cheek to a coach with a off-court scandal like that. Like, no offense, but it takes a certain type of school to turn the other cheek to that type of stuff. Some programs don't have tolerance for that. Some are like, he's healing. He's working on himself. Like there's a certain type of school. Indiana just doesn't strike me as that type of school.
Didn't they do that with Bobby Knight for years, though?
Maybe that I think Bobby Knight was why they were like, now we don't want to, go back to that.
Okay.
I feel like anytime you're the flagship university of a state, that always sort of muddies the water a little bit because you have to be more than, it's cliche, but it's true. You have to be more than just a basketball coach. Like oftentimes you get turned to as a spokesperson for the university. So I could see where you're coming from in that sense, Cart.
Yeah, definitely be some outrage. I feel like I could see him. I could see him coaching in the Big Ten, though. Even though I do see the kind of the more, I guess the Southern draw to him, but I could definitely I could see Chris Beard at Illinois.
Him and Nate Oates are both like, and I feel like anytime there's a big program that thinks they might have an opening in the Big Ten, those are like the two names that have been mentioned for the last 4 years.
Well, that's because Nate Oates is a Midwest guy.
I get it, but I don't think either of them will ever. I don't think they're interested in like Nate Oates, everything he's built, the style of play. I don't think he's like itching to go coach in the Big Ten conference and try to compete with all these nasty plotting teams. Like
realignment, though, never know.
He's running. I don't know, man. He's running shit in the SEC, and there's a better chance Beard's in jail than he's coaching Indiana in 5 years.
Heavens to Betsy.
Am I wrong?
I mean, any of us could go to jail, technically.
I've been in jail.
You have been in jail.
It's a story
Greg is
for
on
another
this
day.
podcast. He's probably been in jail before.
What are the odds that Chris Beard could escape prison if he got incarcerated?
Yeah, back to one big thing from yesterday. Oh, what's the second comment, Carl? Let's just go.
Sorry. The second comment is a more podcast-centric comment. Do you guys like listening to the sound of your own voice? If so, or how long did it take you guys to get comfortable hearing your own voice? I hate hearing myself on video. I hate hearing myself on video. I just want to throw that out there. Like, I don't like listening back to our episodes. I listen back because I want to make sure like we did the right thing and maybe make sure the conversation flowed. But there's nothing I hate worse than hearing my own voice.
I like the sound of your voice. For the record.
Thank you.
Don't hit me with that. You guys both have good podcasting voices. Genuinely, you do.
I will return the compliment. I think y'all both have good podcast voices too. Look at these positive vibes on a Friday. It took me a while. It took me a while to get used to hearing myself recorded, just because it always sounds so different when you hear it outside of yourself.
Very, very true.
But yeah.
I had to just like beat it into my head that it was fine to like, once I started working for Field of 68 and Dimers, like half of what I do is just like videos of my face talking for 60 seconds. So there's not really a way around it, but I feel like I got weaned off of the insecurities about it, honestly, back in the college days when I was making songs though, because like, if you're going to make a song, you're going to listen to your own voice. So I remember being really insecure about that when I was first like trying to dabble in music. And then once I started like doing shows, it was like, oh, not worried about it.
Okay. Respect. All right. That's my comments for today.
Good comments, versatile comments today. Thank you to both of those commenters. Let's move to the Discord where we answer everyone's comments every single day in the Discord. It's $9.99 to join. If you join on a desktop. Don't join on mobile, and then you can get on mobile after that, but you get the cheapest price if you join on a desktop. And just numbers update. Again, I think we got about 40 paid members. We have about 90 people signed up, though, but conversion rate not working for us, Cart. Like there's that 50 group that's signed up, has joined the Discord, but can't access anything because they haven't actually put the info in.
Yeah, and I don't really understand it. I'm not really sure what you need from us. If those other unconverted people are listening to this right now, slide into our DMs and let us know what you need for us to convert. We want you. We're ready for us. We're building the community. We got the newsletter. We got hashtag Bluffs Friday going as a trending topic for what we want to ask Riley today. So if you can't miss out on that stuff. So yeah, go ahead and convert.
Bluffs has a lot of I guess mind share of our Discord, that's for sure. He's a frequent topic. Let's go to comments. Fam starts us off today with, when you guys are cutting clips today, I need the UNC one tagging Mrs. Cadeau, captioned a response to Mrs. Cadeau and UNC Nation, hashtag Cart doesn't duck smoke. Let's throw to our North Carolina expert here. Riley, were we off base yesterday with our Mrs. Cadeau antagonism?
No, I think if you engage on social media, you can't complain if people respond. Like if you throw a criticism at someone and they respond back, like I think you open yourself up to it. That's like part of the nature of posting on a public forum that's accessible by everybody. And I'm like, that original video that sort of went viral and picked up some steam first, I'm a little bit like, what the heck? Why didn't this happen on Riley Friday? I've tried to talk about UNC a lot on this program, and it never gains as much traction as it does when I'm not here. So I was kind of bummed to miss out on that. But also, like, there was nothing outlandish in that clip. Like, Carter said some really nice things about Elliot Cadeau, and I love Elliot Cadeau. I think he's going to be a stud. I'm really excited to watch him. Like, UNC hasn't had a passer like this since Kendall Marshall, and Kendall Marshall, like, had like my athleticism, maybe even a little bit less. I think I can jump higher than Kendall Marshall could. But like Cadeau is super bouncy and explosive and quick, and like any sort of buzzword you want to use in scouting communities, like he's got good bursts, like that type of stuff. But at the same time, what Greg brought up as far as like the reclass conundrum or the reclass history is totally valid. And I thought it was so minor in the clip that it didn't really warrant like I don't know how Carter's positivity completely got overlooked because Greg said, "Are we sure?"
It's like people want to look past whatever I say and get right to what Greg is going to poke at and what Greg is going to make fun of.
Only when it's negative, though. Only when it's negative.
I want to give a PSA to UNC Nation, hashtag Tar Heel Nation. Like, stop acting like we're a mid-major and getting offended by like every little slight. Like, I know we were bad last year and it was not fun and we took a lot of crap for that, but stop acting like we're NC State. Like, act like a blue blood and take it in stride and say banners because we got 7 of them. Like, come on.
It's a great PSA. We're gonna
That
need to
is a
clip
great
that.
PSA. I do want to say one thing on this though, Greg, because I did take a step back and I realized I'm coming from a place where I'm not a parent, and I started looking at it if I was a parent. Would I necessarily engage with somebody online who randomly said something? Probably not. But let's also say if I did have a child and another child maybe kicked my child at recess, I'd want to find that parent, and me and him got to square up, and or I'm going to fight the child. If Jeff Goodman went online and said my kid doesn't have a left hand, I'll be like, Jeffrey, let me know when pudding and shuffleboard time is over at the group home. I'll come find you. Let me know what it is. So at the same time, I can kind of see how you can get upset. If I had my only son getting cooked by Borzello, like I'd be like, okay, Borzello, you're 5'6". So who really wants to fight?
Okay. Just want to be clear while you insult every media member that actually likes us. I don't even think we cooked Elliot Cadeau here. We complimented Elliot Cadeau, but fair point. Get your bars off. Also, you don't even need to imagine you being a parent. You can just imagine you being an uncle. I feel like Uncle Cat is more dangerous than Dad Cat would even be. Father Cat would not support his own child because he wants to build him up to be great and build that chip. Uncle Cat does want to support his nieces and nephews.
100%. I can't wait for Merce's first whatever sporting event. I'm so there. And I'm hosting a tailgate.
She's very into tennis right now, which is on brand with my history.
Dude, that's a great step.
Mm-hmm. Very into tennis. Not nearly as interested in football, and we put volleyball on a couple times. Not super into it right now. Tennis, like lights up, wants to watch TV the whole time.
Sorry, Mal.
Coy says he tweeted this, but he would have Coleman Hawkins in the 15 to 20 range on the all Big Ten top 25 players list. He will say if Coleman averages 4 more points a game, he thinks the narrative changes pretty quick. 14.63 is an all Big Ten second team stat line. He thinks Coleman was 7th on this list, 1 spot ahead of Olivier Comwell, 1 spot ahead of AJ Hogard. Where would you guys naturally put Coleman Hawkins if you were doing this list? Let's go to Riley first.
Yeah, when y'all were going over that segment, my thought would have been what Coy said, in that he said the 12 to 15 range, or was it 10 to 15 range?
He had 15 to 20 range.
Oh, 15 to 20. I mean, I could see the argument for top 15, like, especially I think it was AJ Storr who checked in at 15. Like, I haven't admittedly watched a ton of AJ Storr at St. John's, but even, I don't know, I'm like, Coleman's done it for good teams. Like, he's been a contributor for big teams to where I'd put him ahead of a player like that who's still based on a decent amount of projection. And I know what year's Storr, like a junior now?
I think so.
He's a sophomore eligibility wise.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Coleman would be solidly top 15, but yeah, I don't know if I could get to top 10.
Okay.
See, I think I could get the top 10 with Coleman because I truly think that Coy made a good point that if he did average 4 more points, just optically, it would look a lot better. But literally to me, and I don't mean to make it like as a simple thing, because basketball is never a simple thing. If Coleman had more of the ability or realization of who's guarding him necessarily and how that affects what he does offensively, I think he would easily get 4 more points a game. Like, no matter who's guarding Coleman, I feel like he plays the same way. When to me, because of his versatility and his height and what he can do, if he has a smaller guy on him, he needs to take advantage of that. And he needs to either back him down or do some things where he gets himself some easy shots. If a guy is maybe same size as him and maybe more of a heavy plotter or a bigger set fella, take him out a little bit, drag him out, use your quickness, use your abilities. I just feel like one thing that I don't like people doing is kind of projecting what players will do later in their career. But at the same time, I think if Coleman takes like one little small step just mentally, it could take him to a whole nother level for this Illinois basketball team. And they need him to do it this year too. Like, he can't just blend in like with the Matthew Myers and even though Terrence Shannon's still on this team, he needs to kind of step up as well. He can't just blend in with TSJ. He needs to step up on this team. He's an older player. He's been there. He has experience, like Riley says, on winning teams. And for some reason, call me stupid if you want, I think he does do that this year. So I think 15 to 20 is too harsh for him. I think 15 is at worst what I would put him. I think the highest I would put him is between 8 and 10. So like second team all Big Ten type guy?
Couple quick things for me. I think 15 to 20 is too low for Coleman, but I give Coy a lot of credit because Coy is an Illinois fan. And my biggest criticism of fans is elevating their players too high. So shout out to Coy for not doing that in this case. And I also think that's a good example of how Illinois fans maybe don't appreciate Coleman enough. We know that from our time in Champaign Cart. Anyone we met at a bar, we would literally ask, like, how do you feel about Coleman? And everybody would be like, oh, I hope he leaves. Like, he's good. Like, I want that dude starting on my team. My team had no 4 and your team had no 5. Coleman would have been perfect. Outside of that, though, I think I had Coleman, I think 6th on my list when I did this. And I just want everyone to step back broadly and realize quickly, the Big Ten was so close to being screwed as a conference this year. They dropped their top 5 players finally this morning. It's the consensus top 5 everybody expected. But 4 of the 5 guys are back for an extra COVID year. Can you imagine how bad this conference would be if Boo Buie, Jameer Young, Terrence Shannon, and Tyson Walker didn't take their COVID year? Like, we would be looking at a list that we're debating Cliff Amourier and Coleman Hawkins and AJ Hoggard as the second best player in this conference. Like, we were so close to being down so bad. Now we're just down like a little bad.
Did Jameer Young take a COVID year?
They're all in their 5th year. All these guys are going 5th year.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Yeah. For some reason, I thought Jameer only played 1 year or something at Charlotte, but I guess I'm wrong there.
He did 3 at Charlotte, then 1 at Maryland. It's crazy. It's crazy. Damn. All these guys. So, okay. To the next comment, Tristan quoted, he brought Riley's tweet in here. This is one of the funniest tweets I've seen in a long time. Out of nowhere, Riley from the heavens hits Twitter with an ongoing list of songs that he hates. Said, thank you for asking. Tristan asked, which of these is the most disrespectful to have on here? For Tristan, it's Stay With Me. I don't know that should we read everyone on this list, Riley, or do you just want to speak to the list?
We don't have to go over everyone, but Stay With Me is disrespectful. Like, does Sam Smith have stands that I'm unaware of? Like, who's out here going to bat for Sam Smith? I didn't think that was that egregious.
Tristan and Sam Smith are shaped the same, so maybe that's maybe that's where that's come from.
I was going to bat for Sam Smith before the Mommy Don't Know song. Now I'm not going to bat for Sam Smith anymore.
Yeah, I don't even know that one.
You haven't heard that one?
No.
Neither one of you have heard that one? That's been like everywhere. I'm not even a music guy. That's everywhere.
The only Sam Smith song that's been everywhere is that the Unholy?
Yeah, that's the song, Unholy. Mommy Don't Know.
Well, that's what it's called.
I am quoting the beginning of the chorus. It's horrible. Let's move on. Okay, Riley, what speak to this list. Where are you coming from with this list?
It's not just songs that I think are bad but have some redeemable value. Like, there are songs I don't like where I will admit, like, this artist is talented. These are songs that I'd straight up hate, and like, if I hear them in a public establishment, I might leave. Like, there was one time I was at the grocery store and Viva La Vida came on and I didn't have my AirPods, and I left the grocery store and went to one that was like, there was another one that was on the way to my house that
you are never ever dodging these allegations, Riley.
Okay, but Cart, you're also a man who
I threw in my AirPods and I stopped grocery shopping and went to another grocery store.
Okay, but if you don't bring AirPods to the grocery store, that's an amateur move. You got to have your own tunes or a podcast to listen to as you grocery shop.
That's pretty smart. I might start doing that.
Can I run this back for just a second? What's wrong with Viva? That's the one I'm most mad about on this list. Viva La Vida is an objectively great song.
No, it's not.
I get like it was seen as like pretty, I guess, revolutionary when it came out because they incorporated like a harp and other instruments, and you had like the music video with Chris Martin like hitting a giant bass drum that maybe people thought was cool, but like the song is very mid, and I don't like how easily it gets stuck in my head and I can't get it out of my head.
I agree.
I don't like the was like, it drives me crazy.
So I don't have a problem with most of the songs on this list. I like some, but I don't have a problem. I can understand all of them. Viva La Vida is like an award-winning slapper, though. Like, I'm not out here I don't want to listen to it every day. I don't like run that through the rotation, but like, I feel like a lot of these songs, you're right, are like elementary, like, ooh, cute little Jason Mraz love. Like, Viva La Vida is a Grammy-winning song, and I've seen Coldplay in concert, and that shit went crazy.
You went to a Coldplay concert?
Yeah, Soldier Field in the rain. One of the coolest concerts I've been to, honestly.
I've been workshopping to take that like Coldplay is the worst musical artist that white people gas up, and maybe it was wise of me to not say that till now, but because I do feel like Coldplay does have a lot of stands. Just go listen to U2 if you want something like listen to the original, not the copy.
That's hilarious because I was literally about to follow that up with I don't think it's Coldplay. I think it's U2 that is the most overhyped.
I buy the U2 overhype. I'm not like a Coldplay stan for the record. They're just like
you watch Coldplay at Soldier Field in the rain. You're a Coldplay stan.
One, didn't know it was going to rain. Two, it was all of my in-laws, little siblings trip, the 6 of us. Okay. We were like, let's get Coldplay tickets. They all like Coldplay more than me. I'm like, I'll go to a concert and drink beer in Chicago. Yes. It was fun. That's all I'm saying. Like the Viva La Vida was a moment. That's all I'm saying. Like you went to Taylor Swift after shit talking Taylor Swift for a decade. And I asked you how it was. And I got a text back that said, nah, she might be the one, G. So
it did slap. It did slap.
Don't talk to me.
And if you want me to apologize for being a good husband, you're not going to get that.
Okay. The one other one I want to call out from this list, Sam Hunt, take your time. I've had this take for years. I have just said he's an objectively hilariously awful singer and songwriter. And the idea of him like just talking like this, like we're doing a podcast, but I want to talk so much, is the funniest shit ever to me. Good call out. Thank you.
And I don't know if you want to move on to the next topic right now because we're talking really good about this list, but
I want to sing these songs. I said Riley Hating Take Your Time by Sam Hunt was plus 750 at the sports books, by the way. If anybody, you could get some massive value. Surprised that Riley didn't like that one there. And then Carter chimes in, his list is too long, but a picture of Chance the Rapper sums it up pretty well for you.
Yep. That'll do it. Anything Chance.
You have more hated than just Chance, though. Like if you were listing the Mount Rushmore of Carter Elliott hated music, is Chance in 3 of the 4 slots or 1 or what?
What's the Drake line? Chance the Rapper with 4 different expressions. No, post 2018 Eminem, anything that was released after that, he's on there. That for sure. Chance is on there. I don't really know who else I could put on there, though, to be honest. I'd have to think on that. But
it's a good one.
Chance is absolutely a no-go.
Okay. Travis Nelson says there had to have been at least 1 scout in attendance at the men's league game, right, Cart?
Hey, I don't know with the COVID year coming up or whatnot, but if y'all need me to do 1 year of a master's program, I'm willing. I got 5 fouls. I got a bad attitude, but I'll make it happen.
I went back and watched that no less than 15 times last night. I put it on the big screen, made my wife and daughter watch this. I was talking through to Murphy saying, this is Uncle Carter. He's a monster. My favorite moment was when you talked about how you had the feet of a ballerina and what was it? The strength of
a gorilla.
Strength of a gorilla. That was nice. To Travis's question, though, there was not 1 scout in attendance. There was no one in attendance. I watched it 15 times. There was nobody there.
There was no one. You usually get like 1, probably like 2. I would say 2 to 5 people max. Like wives, girlfriends, something like that. But there's usually no one there.
You put on a great performance though. Like if we had box score numbers going in this, I'm thinking that was at least like 30, 12, and 6.
20, 10, and 6.
Okay, I was close.
Yeah, there are, and also a little wrinkle in this. That was my second game. I subbed for a team before that, so that was my second game coming in tired already, and that was light.
I'm a big Chauncey fan, by the way. I told you that. I FaceTime you to say I'm buying Chauncey stock. I think he could be a breakout member in this league. Jeff Parks hit us with a topic that he said should have gone in the ideas channel. So I'm just going to kind of skate by this, but I want to acknowledge Jeff Parks and say thanks for bringing potential topics into the Discord. We always appreciate that. Fam's back. He says, question for bluffs and bluffs only. Favorite place to travel? Fort Collins was political. Let's be real this time. # Maine lake houses. # Outer Banks is my backyard.
My favorite place that I've ever traveled to is Porto, Portugal. I hope that fits with the Bluffs nickname. But Porto's all
Can we get a US location after this though?
yeah, I feel like I haven't been to that many cool places in the US though. I guess the bougiest place that I've been to regularly is Bald Head Island, which is off the North Carolina coast, and you literally have to take a ferry to get there, and there are no cars on the island. People only drive golf carts.
That fits.
There,
That checks out.
Did you have a good time there?
I have a great time every time I go there. Yes. I go there with my in-laws.
Every time I go there. Okay.
I've been there multiple times. Yes.
There you go. Fam also adds a note. He says, this question is a half joke. I just like hearing Riley talk about non-basketball topics. Great add to the show. Do you have any other non-basketball topics you'd like to just, I feel like you're a wealth of non-basketball stuff these days, Riley.
Gosh, I wish I had. If I was on the Discord, maybe I would have had some time to prepare this.
One of these days. You have bottles and diapers to buy, though, so save that money.
True.
Moving on, Basketball Jones, one of the best new ads to our Discord in the last couple of weeks, says, was wondering if you guys would rank the 3 Big Ten exhibition games by 1, how intrigued you are to watch them, and 2, how likely you think they are to win. We got Illinois versus Kansas. We got Michigan State versus Tennessee, and we got Purdue against Arkansas. Cart, you're the Big Ten guy here. No offense, Riley, but we'll have you lead on this one.
So Michigan State, Tennessee is last for me. Last, like least likely that I want to watch or I'm intrigued to watch. Nothing about Tennessee basketball intrigues me whatsoever. And I don't care what happens in that game, to be honest with you. Obviously, I want to watch Michigan State. Don't care what happens. Result does not matter either direction, whether we win by 20 or lose by 20. I do not care. It's a Tennessee Volunteers. It's Rick Barnes. Second, I'm going to go Illinois, Kansas, just because, you know, the whole narrative around it. And I think it's going to be hilarious what unfolds from that, because there's a world where Hunter Dickinson does not play because he tweaked his ankle earlier the week in practice, or he's feeling a little sick. That could happen. The one I'm most intrigued to watch. Oh, by the way, sorry, Kansas wins that basketball game. And the one I'm most intrigued to watch is Purdue versus Arkansas, because I think that it fits a lot of things. One is 2 really good teams. You got Painter versus Muss. I like that coaching matchup. And it perfectly fits the Purdue can't deal with athletic teams narrative. Like, Arkansas is the ultimate athlete team. Like, they always have guys who can get up and down the court. They want to play extremely fast. They got guys that get after you. Those are the teams that when, you know, if Purdue's in March and they come across them, everyone is just like, oh, they can't deal with these teams. Oh, they can't do this. So I think that exhibition game holds the most weight, because whatever happens is going to flip the narrative for one of those teams, mainly Purdue. If Purdue does well in that game, oh, they took a step. Oh, they added guys. Oh, guys got better. If they get overpowered athletically and kind of get ran out of the gym, or just, you know, look a step slow, all that stuff's just going to start formulating again and, you know, bringing up all the wounds of the past. So I think that's how I'd rank those games.
Intrigue for me, Illinois, Kansas, obvious reasons. Hunter Dickinson back. That's just by far the most entertaining thing about these exhibitions. 2, I'll go Michigan State, Tennessee. I am excited to see the freshmen on Michigan State, new look squad. I think they're not the same team, even though they bring everybody back. And it's rare to say that about a team that brings all their starters back. Purdue, Arkansas is the least intriguing to me, just because I think Purdue, we know what they are. They're a monster. The most exciting thing about that would be maybe getting a glimpse of Zach Edey standing next to Eric Musselman, one of the biggest height discrepancies we could find, and an image probably in college basketball. Likely to win. Purdue's going to win. I think Purdue's going to blow Arkansas out, to be honest. And then Michigan State 2, Illinois 3. Not a surprise in order of how good the teams are. Anything to add, Riley, to everything we just said?
I'm with Carter that I'm actually most intrigued by Purdue and Arkansas, mainly because of the contrast of styles, where you have like the Eric Musselman ball that's very much like, let me go ISO with one of my wings, let me find mismatches, let me exploit that, versus Purdue, which I think tends to be predicated on ball movement, some nice little sets drawn up by Matt Painter. Always like seeing a clash of styles like that. But yeah, I do think Purdue's significantly better. Excited to see how Braden Smith does with athleticism this time around. Again, like Cart was getting at. But yeah, I think, Greg, you've made me a believer in Braden Smith over the last like 2 months. I think probably a couple months ago when it comes to Purdue. I was like, yeah, I'm not in on them as a top 5 team. I've seen been there, done that, seen these guards before. But after doing some deeper dives on Braden Smith and hearing even what you were saying yesterday, I'm like, okay, yeah, this dude's pretty tough. But excited to see that. And then one more thing I would add is I'm going to throw this to you, G Wizzy, as the Hunter Whisperer, the odds maker. What are the odds that Hunter Dickinson plays in that exhibition against Illinois?
I think he's going to play. It's Hunter, so you can't rule it out, but I'll say like 90. I don't think there's a good reason he wouldn't play.
Okay, just curious.
Cart's higher on that.
It would add a little pizzazz. Like he has the sniffles and they just put him on the broadcast for the game. And they just like let him do the play-by-play with John Fanta. And it's scenes.
Yeah. I mean,
bluffs.
I mean, Fanta, what do you
Gosh. All right. Final comment of the day from D Rose SAT. He says, would both teams accept the following trade? Jaden Akins for Terrence Shannon. I think they would. MSU raises their floor/ceiling while Illinois would add someone with more years to contribute and star potential. Riley, Illinois would not accept this, correct?
Yeah, you don't trade a 17 point per game score. Like, I think Jaden Akins is a great fit at Michigan State, and that's nothing against his game, but like, you take one more year of Terrence Shannon if you can and worry about the future later.
Okay, D Rose's point, though, because now I'm reading further down the thread. He is coming from a place of Terrence Shannon has 1 year left. Jaden Akins could potentially have 3. In that theory, you could talk me into this for Illinois. Cart, what would you do? You're a Michigan State guy. You want Terrence Shannon instead of Jaden Akins?
Yeah.
Okay. Should Illinois want Jaden Akins instead of Terrence Shannon?
No.
All right. Simple as that. Thank you to the Discord. Bunch of great comments today. Bunch of great comments all week. We appreciate everybody in that community. Let's make some money this weekend. Our newsletter picks are out, including the first ever pick Carter and I are against each other on. Should we address that quickly? Are we okay with going head to head against each other in a pick?
You know, we don't like to do it, but if we're going to release a newsletter every single week, and I think I had 4 picks this week and you had 5, eventually we're going to be on the opposite side of one, maybe a couple. So it happens. One of us is going to win. We'll see who comes out on top. History shows obviously it might be you, but I'm willing to flip the narrative this year. I'm sick of losing bets to G.
It's a big swing for our competition to see who has the better record too. We're both 8-3 right now with our college football picks. So whoever wins and loses this, that's a
huge 5-0 week for you last week.
Big 5-0 week. Literally, if you bet the $100 parlay I threw in there, you had a cash out opportunity for $4,000 at 6 p.m. on the weekend. So hopefully somebody did. Let's move on. It's Riley Friday. Riley Davis has the topics today. What are we starting with, Riley?
All right, topic number 1. I got the inspiration for this when y'all were talking through Final Four teams from every power conference, the ones that are most likely to make it. I want to talk surprise letdown teams in every power conference. And I want to get ahead of this. You know, if we clip anything from this is not us preying on anybody's downfall, at least me, maybe Carter is, but not us like cheering for these teams to fail. But I'm more so looking at teams in power conferences where you think like on the surface, this should be a tournament team, but maybe there's different factors at play, whether it's an over-reliance on freshmen, over-reliance on transfers, guys transferring up, that we could see it, you know, that it is in the realm of possibilities that we get to Selection Sunday and this team's on the outside looking in.
I love that you said that, but also be known that won't be in the clip, Riley. So let's keep moving forward.
All right, where are we starting? I tried to guess alphabetical order last week. What you take us through this, Riley? Steer us where you want to.
Let's start with the ACC. We can go. We can skip over the Pac-12 too, unless y'all have some strong feelings. But I'm kind of like it's probably gonna be Oregon because it just seems like for the past half decade, it's like they always bring in these somewhat notable transfers and then end up in the NIT. But if y'all want to talk Pac-12, we can. But I was thinking mainly ACC, Big 12, Big 10, Big East, SEC.
Perfect. Let's do it. All right, ACC. Cart, you get to pick me or you first.
True ACC. I feel wrong saying this because we said they might be the most likely team, but I think it's Duke because Duke has the highest expectations. We don't know what flip is. Hip surgery is no joke. I don't care who does it. I don't care what type of surgery it is. I don't care if it's a cleanup, whatever you want to call it, minor, major, whatever. Hips are hips. Hip surgery is something usually that you typically are hindered from. And how hindered he's going to be or how long he's going to be hindered, who really knows? So I guess I'm kind of cheating the exercise by saying Duke because they had the highest expectations, but they also had the biggest question marks to me. There's a lot of mouths to feed in that backcourt. And I don't know if, well, look at it this way. Shire's coming into his second year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This is something he hasn't had to deal with. He hasn't had to deal with like feeding different, guys' egos, mouths, or making sure the ball goes around, something like that. He hasn't had to deal with that yet. And now he's dealing with that on top of the best player on his team in most eyes, Flip, coming off of hip surgery. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. Shire hasn't ran into any adversity yet either, so we don't know how he would respond to it as well. He ain't Coach K. He might be, but we don't know that yet. So I think I would pick Duke for that.
I do not like that answer, Cart. I'm sorry.
I know you don't. I know. I can tell by your facial expressions every time I spoke.
I'm sorry. I have bad facial expressions to you. It's unfair to you. But I'm approaching this maybe a little differently. I don't think it's like who's going to potentially underwhelm the most from what their expectation is. I'm going from like a who could actually like totally bottom out and have a disaster year.
Like miss the tournament type.
That's how I'm taking it. You're free to take it differently. I think
I'm gonna take it like that moving forward. Just so you know.
Okay. I don't think there's a world where Duke misses the tournament. I don't think there's a world where they're not a top 25 team. They might be like 10th instead of first. I think
there's a world where they're a 7 seed.
Yeah. Okay. I see where Cart's coming from. I'll speak into that. Like it's really, really hard to imagine them missing the tournament. I think they'll get in, but I don't know, coming from someone who cheers for a blue blood that just had a disaster of a season with a second-year head coach, I think there's a chance that like that second year isn't necessarily going to be the launching pad for Shire that many are hoping to be. And I think he was actually really good in year one. I thought the way that he eased in some of their freshmen like Derek Lively, Dariq Whitehead, Proctor, had those guys playing really well at the end of the season speaks volumes to his coaching ability. But I'm saying I think it's within the realm of possibility that it's like his progression might not necessarily be linear, like there could be, it's not to say that his outlook going forward would be bad or anything, but it might not be like, oh, second year Shire really becomes a savant that like Duke fans are hoping for.
That's for sure. I think I would lean it's more likely he doesn't become that than like he's a breakout. Oh, look at him. He's a stud coach. Like, I just think Duke's going to be good because they're talented. They went 27-9 last year. They're in the ACC. They bring everybody except Lively that's important back, plus the best recruiting class in the country. I don't see how they're worse than 27-9, I guess would be my point. I don't think it's like with Carolina, it was like, at least you could point, even the year they made the title game, they were a pretty mediocre team. They just hit some Caleb Love shots down the stretch. And then the next year they were mediocre team again. So Duke, it's like, okay, if they're 27-9 again, that's maybe an underachievement based on being number one in the country, but they're in the ACC. They're going to play a bunch of games against Boston College, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, Louisville. This team's not going to like struggle with all these McDonald's All-Americans. The team I think could struggle in the midst of this conference, I think is pretty bad, is Virginia. I don't buy this roster at all. I think this is a non-tournament team. I think they're on the outside looking in. I know people really like Road or Rody, however you say it. I don't. I'll just call it what it is. I'm not a huge up transfer guy. From the tape I've seen, don't trust it. Don't see him as like a go-to ACC all anything guy that could carry this offense. It's going to be a lot on Reese Beekman's shoulders. And I think if Beekman was actually the player people think he could be, he'd be in the NBA right now and not back in a Tony Bennett offense for the third, fourth year in a row. So I'm out. I called Virginia being awful 2 years ago, by the way. Got a lot of shit for it, but nailed it. Said they'd miss the tournament. They did. I stayed away last year because I was kind of bought back into the Kihei Clark stuff. I think this team takes a nosedive this season. How bad is that as a take, Riley?
You actually hit on all the notes I had on Virginia. That was my first choice. Actually, the first thing I wrote in my notes was a lot of reliance on Beekman to be something he hasn't been through 3 seasons. And that's, we've been waiting for this leap for him to be like a Malcolm Brogdon type, and I just don't know if that's in the cards for him. I mean, really good passer, really good defender, but not someone who's going to go get you a bucket when the shot clock's winding down, which is quite frequently for Virginia. Rhodey was another guy I penciled in to where he's talented. Like, talking to one dude who's an NBA scout told me that his ankle flexibility makes him think that he could become like a primary initiator. The ankle flexibility hive in like the scouting world is crazy to me. I like don't get that, but maybe it's just beyond my basketball understanding. But
explains why I didn't make it.
Rhodey could be good in time, but if you look at like Virginia's history, there are rarely any freshmen or first year transfers who sort of take off under Tony Bennett. Like, I think that's just part of a system thing there. Like Jaden Gardner put up numbers his first year there, but that's kind of the exception rather than the rule. So I like the Virginia pick a lot.
I thought we were just all in. I thought everyone was just in agreement that Virginia stinks, so they couldn't underwhelm. I thought that was just like kind of just noted what it's going to be. But yeah. I am taking your approach moving forward, though, Gregory, just so you know.
Okay. I had no issues with your original approach, by the way, but
yeah, you did. You did.
It's okay. Went at it a different way.
Okay, stand on that.
Where do we go next, Riley?
Let's stay alphabetical and go with the Big East.
Okay.
Big East bottom out team.
I mean, isn't there an obvious one for you with who their coach is?
Yeah, no, it can't be him though, and I want to stop my Marquette slander because I do think they're going to be a good team.
Well, let me say that again, because isn't there another obvious one with who their coach is?
I might be missing it on this one, but I'm gonna go with Xavier. I think Xavier could be a team that's going to bottom out just because of injuries alone. Like, they're not going to have Fremantle for the whole season, I believe it is. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. They won't have Hunter as well. They bring in Davion McKnight from Western Kentucky, who I really like as a player. I think he'll be really good in the Big East as well. Like he when you look at him, I think Big East guard. I think he can be, or like Big East wing type. So I think he'll be really good for the Xavier team, but I just don't see who's going to be the guy. They're not going to have Fremantle or Hunter. And I was particularly really excited this season to watch Fremantle without having to play with Nunji too. Like, I get that worked, but the whole too big thing, call it watching Indiana and Race Thompson and TJD play together, but it doesn't do much for me. It was a little bit different because Nunji could actually stretch the floor a little bit, but I was excited to see how Miller kind of adjusted the team, just having like Fremantle be that 5 guy, and then you just surround him with other guys and surround him with McKnight. So them missing him for the whole season is really going to hurt. So I think that could be a team that could easily bottom out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Villanova.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Villanova was my answer. I was trying to tease you.
What is wrong with me?
I was trying to tease you into Kyle Neptune. That's where I was going.
I know. Damn it.
I think I've said it before, maybe even on a Riley Friday. I don't think I'm buying that any of their transfer ads are good college basketball players. I think they're like role player types that if they're your 5th guy, then you're like a 7 seed. But the problem is Villanova can't like scrap a bunch of 5th options together with Kyle Neptune at coach and overachieve. That's not going to happen. They need a superstar. Last year they had a superstar. He couldn't figure out how to get anything out of Cam Whitmore. And Justin Moore, like, I think he's a good story. I'm glad he got back on the court last year. I don't exactly love Justin Moore as a first option at this point, and I don't love him as a 1B to Eric Dixon's 1A. I think those guys really struggled in 1A, 1B roles last year with a lottery pick talent as their 3rd wing. Now you have Tyler Burton as their 3rd wing and Hakeem Hart. I don't see it. The one thing they have is that they're old, but I don't think old works. I think if you're in the ACC or the Big Ten here, you could tell me they're going to win 10 games in the conference just because they're old. In this conference, you got to play Creighton, you got to play Marquette, you got to play UConn. I don't know. I don't like Villanova on paper over any of those teams. So I think there is a world where this team is a bubble team. Maybe not a total miss the tournament group, but like a very iffy down the stretch of the season team.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. And with the transfers, I see the vision with like adding the length and athleticism, but there's definitely a chance, again, looking at the success from prior stops like Hakeem Hart, I guess he's been on some good teams, but TJ Bamba hasn't. Trey Burton has. I guess he made that one tournament where they beat Iowa in the first round, but like you put the three of us in the round of 68 against Iowa. Let us. I think we'll put up a fight. Just based on
we respect Fran on this podcast, Riley. I don't care if it is your day. Okay.
All right, I'm sorry. I don't want Iowa fans coming after me, especially after I got so much love the one time I gassed up Brock Harding. I apologize.
I think the funniest thing though about Villanova this year is, like that Office episode where it's the three characters and they're all like doing the gun pointing thing at each other. That's going to be Akeem Hart, Justin Moore, and Burton this year because they all think they're that guy, and especially Akeem Hart and Justin Moore. That's going to be fun to watch unfold throughout the year because I think Akeem Hart left Maryland because he thinks he should be like the main guy, and then he's going to a team where he's not going to be the main guy. At least in our eyes, he's not going to be the main guy. Maybe in his own head, who really knows? So that'll be interesting to see who unfolds. The coach wears a turtleneck year round. Do what you want with that.
There's no relation to Josh Hart with Hakeem Hart, right? Because if there is, I will retroactively buy Hakeem Hart stock.
No.
Okay, then yeah, still out on Hakeem. Okay, what's next, Riley?
Well, I wanted to at least give a quick mention to my Big East team before we move on. It was St. John's. That's just because they have a ton of mid-major transfers between Dennis Jenkins, Chris Ledlam, Jordan Dingle. Like those are three projected starters. Dingle's been on some good teams. Jenkins has obviously been on some good teams. And I know Ledlam has like the recruiting pedigree, but yeah, there's a chance it might not all come together. And I think a lot of people are just penciling St. John's into the top 25 because they have NIL and they have Rick Pitino. And I'm also interested to see, like, has Pitino lost his fastball at all as he moves up a level from the MAC? So we can move on to the Big Ten, talk of your conference.
Can you go first, G?
Yeah, I'm trying to determine which one I want to pick here. I feel like I've gone hard on this team recently. I have two. I'll mention both quickly, and I'll go hard on the one I've been hard on for months. Wisconsin and Indiana are my two. I don't think Wisconsin, I don't like this group as a collective of guys. I like the AJ Storr ad a lot, so maybe that could move the needle. But I think that's a really redundant ad to the guy who, in my opinion, is their best player in Connor Essegian. And I don't think there is a world where those guys break out at the same time. Like, best case scenario, you're going back to compare it to my world. Like, they had Tim Hardaway and Nick Stauskas together. Nick Stauskas looked like a role player because Tim Hardaway was good. Hardaway left, and then Stauskas looked really good. I don't see how both those guys could be Stauskas guys at the same time. And you want Essegian to take that jump, but you brought in a guy who might be better at making that jump than Essegian is. So the point is, in the meantime, Chucky Hepburn's going to be taking step back jumpers that clank off the side of the backboard while these two good players are asking for the ball. Tyler Wall's still running around doing nothing. Stephen Crowell has to fend off this dancing bear, to use Carter's term, big man in Gus Walden, who is he good? I don't know. Or Gus Yalden, not Walden. So I just, I think they were bad last year. I think they're bad again this year, and they doubled down on being the same bad core. I don't like that. Indiana is going to look a lot different. Indiana's the team that has higher expectations, I think, than Wisconsin. So they're a better pick for this exercise because I don't think Indiana makes the NCAA tournament. I said that before on here like a month ago, and I ran from the Zoom call when I said it. Now I'm saying it with my chest after all we've been through. I think this is a totally mismatched front court. Like, they're all good individually. Ware's a nut job who isn't even on the top 25 players list, but he's the most talented player in this front court. Renault is solid. That's the best word I can use to describe him. Of the three, you know what you're getting from him. You're getting like replacement level play from a center. Mbako's a theoretical lottery talent, but again, you're playing him next to two guys that don't help his game shine. So then you look in the backcourt, you got Xavier Johnson, who, from what I heard, wanted to come back last season. Indiana wasn't or Indiana wanted him back and he didn't want to play. Like, what's going on there? There's rumors, it's messy. And now he's back and he's supposed to be the star, and they added like 7 centers and no guards at all. I don't like it. I think this is potential disaster locker room potential and on-court results potential. And I think this is an NIT team at best.
Yeah. For me, I had Indiana as well. And before the Assembly Hall minions flock to this video and absolutely assault me verbally via the comments, it's because I look at Purdue and Michigan State. I look at what would happen if those teams bottom out. The thing is, those teams can't bottom out because they have depth. they have other pieces. Like in my eyes, Michigan State's downfall could be if AJ Hoggard doesn't play to the level he has. The thing is, if AJ Hoggard's not playing to the level he has, we got guards that can come in and pick up where he's leaving slack. If, I don't know, let's say, like you said with Purdue, Greg, if Fletcher's not playing well, you can have guys like Colvin. You have other guys on the team that could pick up the slack. If this team, this Indiana team, the guys that they're depending on don't play well, who's picking up? Like, I don't know if CJ Gunn can pick up the slack. I don't know if Gabe Cups can pick up the slack. And I like Gabe Cups, sorry. But I don't know if those guys can necessarily pick up the slack and back each other up. So I think if you take a team that could possibly do some things, I think Indiana does make the tournament. Not saying what they do, but the bottoming out could really be bottoming out for that team. And the honorable mention is Minnesota for me as a bottom out team, because they were a bottom team last year and they added a Christie to the team. So that could do nothing but make it worse.
Ridiculous.
I think y'all hit the nail on the head with Indiana. That was a team I had penciled into. Greg brought up a great point about the locker room. I think that's a lot of egos in the front court. Well, I don't know any of these kids. I don't want to make assumptions there, but even just looking at like Mbako 5-star, Renew 5-star, Ware 5-star, it is going to be interesting to see how like Mike Woodson can get these three players who aren't necessarily the smoothest fit together on the court, like how he meshes that and any sort of off court like attitudes of who's a go-to guy, like that type of thing as well. So
back
in my day, everyone played fair and had fun.
Hillel Ware is the preseason body language PhD player of the year for me, by the way. I'm working on an all first team right now. It's Hillel Ware and it's Coleman Hawkins and Trey Gibbs Lawhorn. Outside of that, I'm looking for two more. So we'll report back.
All right, let's move on to the Big 12. There are some sneaky deep options here. Like, I know it's the best league in the country, but there's a couple choices here.
This is going to hurt me to say. Sorry, can I go first?
Yeah, I was going to ask Riley to go first, though, because I feel like we've been monopolizing all the time. Let's let Riley go first on the last one. First.
Okay.
Yeah. So who's going? Somebody.
I was going to let Riley go first.
Okay. I'll just go first. I think Baylor is a sneaky pick to sort of bottom out this year. And that, Car, I know you said maybe you're going to mention a team that you like. Like, I'm a huge Scott Drew fan, and I'm a big believer just in him as a coach and what he does. Like, how he's been able to even redefine himself over his career to win a title a few years ago. But just looking at this roster, there's no Keontae George type in the backcourt. There's no LJ Cryer or Flagler type who's been in the system and pencils in as a natural breakout. There's a lot of reliance on Jaden Nunn and Ray J. Dennis, and both are fine players, but I don't think either is like first team all Big 12 guard, which just puts a lot of pressure on Jacoby Walter.
Love that pick. Cart?
Let me collect myself, because this is going to cause me physical pain to say. It's Houston. I think Houston could be the team, and it really brings me. You know how much this hurts me, G. It really does, and because Kelvin Sampson, I think it kind of goes to what Riley said. Like, him thinking a Scott Drew team could bottom out brings him pain. Me verbalizing that Sampson could be a team that bottoms out brings me pain, but it has to be talked about because. Yes, they got guys like Shed coming back, and I think he's going to be really good. But you lose Marcus Sasser, you lose Tremont Mark. You're looking at guys like I don't want to butcher his last name. I believe it's Arsenault, Terrence Arsenault.
Terrence Arsenault.
You're looking for him to take a step. What if he doesn't take that step? It's just there is a world where it's not always when you put guys in a bigger role, they take a next step and they become that guy. Not everyone can be a guy. Some guys are really good in their role being a second guy, but they try to do that same thing and be the main guy, and it just doesn't look as good. And I think that could happen with this Houston team. And I would bet that it doesn't, but at the same time, I think it could be a team that possibly bottoms out, new league. So that, that's going to be a factor, I think, as well. Even though they're a tough-nosed, hard-playing team, you're still switching into the Big 12, the best league in college basketball. That's a step up from playing Temple every other week. So, yeah, I think that Houston, unfortunately, might be a team that could bottom out.
I want to give you a lot of credit, Cart, because one, that was incredibly selfless of you to put your Houston love aside and honestly assess where that team is at. Give you credit. Two, very difficult pronunciation on the fly, and you nailed Arsenault. So you are on fire right now. You're operating as a 3-level podcaster. It's impressive.
Don't give me a cut.
I like both those picks. I was going to pick between those two picks. I think my true pick would be Baylor just because I don't think their guards are good. And you've heard me vent about it with Ray J. Dennis, even though I'm still mad for Illinois they didn't get Ray J. Dennis. That doesn't mean I think he's good. I just think that's Illinois' only option, and he's better than Ty Rodgers. I still think he stinks as a point guard in the Big 12. I am contractually obligated to mention this one, even if I have to stretch myself for it. There's a world that Kansas is a disaster. There is a world. I'm sorry. I don't.
Why is that, Gregory?
I wouldn't bet on it happening, but I would look at the odds. And if the odds are higher than like 100 to 1, I might set a little bit aside because let's go down the list. It's more than just Hunter, but a lot of it's Hunter. But if you go down the list, DeJuan Harris might just go in his shell again. He did that for 2 weeks last season, and Kansas lost 4 straight games, even though they had Jalen Wilson, a first-team All-American, and Grady Dick, a lottery pick next to him. Like, they lost 4 straight games because DeJuan Harris was afraid of his own shadow. And he looks good right now, but what if he doesn't? What if he goes back in the mental gymnastics mode when he realizes his lottery pick talent's gone? Kevin McCullough might just be a role player. He might not be Jalen Wilson 2.0. He's definitely not Grady Dick, and I still am not sure he can shoot. The other guys they got, like, they have a lot of prestigious ads outside of that. Like Arterio Morris looked good on the overseas trip, and Nick Timberlake was like a top of every transfer portal list you can find according to every algorithm there is. But we don't know. None of those guys have been like Big 12 starters before. The only guy that has been the face of a team before on this team is Hunter Dickinson. And how has his teams done? They've underachieved massively. He's been the biggest underachieving team guy in college basketball since his career started. So I think there's disaster potential that people aren't talking about. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't bet on it, but make it a footnote. Put that in your notebooks at home. Say, Greg said this might happen. And if they start the season like 4-4 miraculously, I want all the credit for it.
I just think that, like, when you look at Bill Self's track record, his down years are still like a 4 or 5 seed in the tournament. That's why it's really tough for me to see them bottom out altogether. Like, I think it's definitely in the realm of possibility where they lose like 4 games in a row in January and people are panicking, but he'll do something. He'll pull some strings. He might like dismiss somebody like he did to LeGerald Vick like 4 years ago, and they were able to rally a little bit, but I don't know. I can't see them bottoming out. Like,
counterpoint. Are we sure Bill Self's heart is in a good spot right now?
I hope so, man. I hope he stays healthy for the whole year.
I don't know. Coaching's stressful. Yeah. So
coaching stressful enough when you're not coaching Hunter Dickinson is all I'm saying. And I pray for good health for Bill Self. I really do. But he has his hands full this year is all I'm saying.
The other 2 Big 12 teams I penciled were Texas, just because a lot of pressure on Max Asmus to translate right away. And for Dylan Mitchell to make a leap.
Right. What was the next team? We're not going to speak on Texas. Cut you off. Taking over Bucks Friday.
Next one also hurts my heart because I love Jerome Tang, but Kansas State, if Tyler Perry isn't like close to as good as Marquise Noel, that could be a little bit troublesome. Same thing with Kaluma. I feel like Kansas State really needs Kaluma to put it all together just because the rest of that roster, there's talent, but it's like their bench is a little bit scary. Looking at their projected contributors. And again, like Jerome Tang, I think coach circles around most teams he played against last year. But this roster, I just don't think like you really need Tyler Perry and Arthur Kaluma to beat all Big 12 guys like immediately.
By the way we're talking about it, does the Big 12 have the most bottom out potential out of all the conferences? Just because I guess we hold them in such a high standard or something?
They'll be slipping those bribes to Kim Pom to tweak the algorithm to make sure they all stay top 40.
I think there's more teams in the Big 12 that could bottom out than there are in the Big East of the strong top 4s. I feel confident in that.
Yep. Well, we can close it out with the SEC.
Ooh, SEC. I think I would go Bama as my SEC pick, just because. Also, speaking to a Bama optimist here, I believe in Grant Nelson. I truly do. But from everything else that everyone else is saying to me, like Grant Nelson went to the G League Combine and was one of the worst players there. Like that was the consensus. So if that's true, that's a scary thought. But I do think he's going to be a good player. But I just think that I don't know. You look at their backcourt, you look at their main guys last year. You got the number 2 pick in Brandon Miller. Like you got lottery pick level talent the past couple of years. They don't have like a lottery pick level talent this year on that basketball team. They got guys like Rylan Griffin who they expect to take steps. Estrada from Hofstra, obviously a prolific scorer there. Up transfers, like Gregory likes to say, always got to take with a grain of salt because it kind of takes some time. A lot is banking on Mark Sears being the second year guy as an up transfer taking a step. And I do buy a lot of Bama stock because I do think him being in the second year, he'll take some steps with them. But there is a world, I guess that's the phrase of the segment. There is a world where Bama could be a team that bottoms out. I don't know if they constitute a team that'll bottom out enough to like miss the tournament, but I do think that it could be the team that bottoms out in this conference. And because I don't want to pick Kentucky, and I feel like Greg's going to pick Kentucky.
I thought about Kentucky. So the hard part for me with the SEC is that I feel like none of them are guarantees, but all of them have reasons for optimism more than they have reasons for pessimism. Like I like Alabama. I like Auburn's guards. I like pretty much everything that's going on with the top tier teams on this list. I don't really trust Texas A&M, but I don't. That's not fun to say. Like I don't trust Texas A&M. So I don't know if you guys will allow this. I don't know if this is below the bar of teams I'm not allowed to pick, but I think Florida is 100% missing the tournament again. 100%.
100%?
100%. I think there's a 0% chance Todd Golden takes this team to the NCAA tournament.
I think the roster is so much better than it was last year. Like, I know you
Why?
have some problems with the guards because I think Walter Davis is really Walter Clayton. I can't even get his name right. Maybe he's not that good.
They don't have Colin Castleton.
Yeah, Castleton was better, way better than anybody in this front court.
But I like Micah Hand-Logton. He has a fun name. He's from North Carolina. He blocks a lot of shots. Riley Kugel, also a fun name. That's basically my argument.
Well, fun name team.
The
great name team.
If you like Florida's ads this year, especially in the backcourt, that's great. Enjoy them for the next month and a half because they're going to get turned into what he turned Kyle Lofton into when the season starts. So like none of these guys are good enough to, I guess, work through the disaster that is a Todd Golden offense for me.
All right, I'll allow it.
I guess we'll let that go.
My pick was Tennessee, and this is a team I think I have ranked in the top 10 right now. But again, with Zakai Ziegler coming off an ACL tear, just want to see what he looks like and if he returns to his pre-injury form. And then they do have a lot riding on Dalton Connect as far as like offense. And I think I said this last week, Connect is a bucket. He's really good athlete, but he's just been such a poor defender in his 2 years at Northern Colorado. And I don't think that's a byproduct of the other UNC of Northern Colorado. Like that was a team I covered for the Almanac and talking to their coach, Steve Smiley. Great dude, great interview. He's kind of been a defense first guy throughout his career. Like he coached under Jeff Linder, the Wyoming coach when he was at Northern Colorado and was like his defensive coordinator. So I think that Connect probably had some good coaching on that end and wasn't able to put it together. That scares me a bit with him going to a coach who is really going to prioritize defense. And if Barnes says that like Connect is not a good defender to play 25 plus minutes a game, I think that could bode very poorly for Tennessee's offense.
I like that pick too.
Does Vescovi still have frosted tips?
Why do I feel like he's going to go like pink dye this year? I don't have any verification of that, but
I would kind of be in on that. I'm not going to lie. If he spices the color up a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, if he dishes the frosted tips and just goes straight, just pink, whatever, orange, I might be in.
Orange would be sick.
Tennessee is going to be such a good spot for Doug McDaniel to transfer to in a year, by the way. He's going to crush there.
He would be like, it's like Zakai Ziegler 2.0. Yeah. Greg, how are we on time before Spotify will cut us off?
We should speed the last two, I would say, like no more than 7.5 minutes for the final two segments.
Okay. Well, we might have to rapid fire this one, but I want to talk about the Almanac top backcourt list. I think people know I contributed to the Almanac. I just mentioned it. So by the Almanac, it's something that I think we're all really proud of, have worked hard on. And I do think it's the best coverage you're going to find as far as preseason previews go. Insight from coaches, anonymous coaching polls, good national content. But I wanted to discuss Rob Doster's backcourt list because he wrote that for us and it generated some buzz. So no disrespect towards Doster. That's my guy. But I read his full on article and it made more sense to me why he ranked some teams where he did, because he was looking at it more holistically. Like basically he's mentioning like the top 5, in some cases 6 guys in the backcourt, and he sort of lumps some wings into the backcourt as well. But I would still dispute with him on where he had some of these teams ranked. So I wanted to open up to y'all because we texted about it some on the side. Like, who do you think is too high, too low? What teams that didn't make the cut would you like to see on there? Cart, do you want to say your piece about Michigan State? You look like you're about ready to go to bat for Tyson Walker and the boys.
No, not at all. You know what? I understand how hard making lists is, and I don't want to just be the podcast that tears down lists and breaks down and shits on lists 24/7. So I just want to say making lists are very hard. I also saw the picture that Rob Dowser tweeted out this morning of his bagel order, and the list makes complete sense now. So I really have no qualms about it. I think it was correct.
All right. Can I speak to why I don't think it was correct then?
You have the floor.
Thank you. Okay. So first off, I love lists. I'm a big list guy. I like lists because I can make fun of lists. And it's good. Lists are fun. We can make fun of lists, and that's okay. I also like Rob Doster. Shocker. I know that was like plus 300 out there for me to publicly say I like Rob Doster, but I do. The Almanac fascinates me because I tweeted this out yesterday. I think people know this in general. I don't work on the Almanac at all, even though I do like social media and other stuff for Field of 68. For whatever reason, I'm just not involved in that whatsoever. And that's perfectly fine by me because I know it takes a lot of work and I respect everybody's efforts that go into this. The most fascinating thing about it for me, though, is that it seems from the outside looking in and what I know about it, it seems like it's a lot of individual siloed work here. And there's not as much collaborative, like here's our collective mind power stuff at the national level as I would think. It's like, oh, Rob did the top 20 list. And then like 3 other people are like, I didn't sign off on that. And I'm like, well, we got Heat Check. We got 3-1-We. We got all these smart people here. And everybody's like, I'm not standing behind that. So that's not a diss to the Almanac because everyone's smart and lists are fun and lists are meant to provoke engagement. And Rob is a genius at provoking engagement. With that said, Rob's camping on Twitter super hard about how you can't use one game as a reason Michigan State should be ahead of Marquette. Yes, you can. I get it. Tyler Kolek was hurt. Ooh, sorry. He had a boo-boo. Like he was your number 1 first team All-American best point guard in the country, according to you all season long last year. He couldn't play through that and show up better than he did. He was terrified. That wasn't a physical illness of why Tyler Kolek struggled in that game. It was that he was mentally horrified. AJ Hoggard was eating him for lunch. Tyson Walker was in his shorts. So I'm not even a Michigan State guy, but that's definitely like a note here. It can't be your full reason for why Michigan State should be ahead of Marquette. In fact, Rob laid out a good reason for why Michigan State would have an argument to be ahead of Marquette, but it's definitely a note. And you don't just downplay it because AJ Hoggard had like 25 that game or whatever it was. He crushed them. So I don't get that one. But I know they've been high on Marquette's backcourt for forever. Outside of that, like, I assume he's just trolling Kentucky, leaving them off. That's my assumption. When people told me it was just Rob that did this, I'm like, okay, then that was the move. Is that all fair, Riley? Like, where do you land on that?
Yeah, I think Kentucky should be on there. As far as like the siloed work, we collaborated on our top 100 players and our top 25. Sometimes it's a lot to coordinate like 12 people to vote for something. So I get that. I wrote the breakout player list, for example. I asked for some feedback, but I think only like 2 people weighed in. Doster was one of them, though. Doster gave me some of his input. But yeah, I think I would put Michigan State number 1. I'm a huge Tyson Walker believer. I know AJ Hoggard, like even this might be a little coach speaky, but just in speaking to like 25 coaches this year, it seems like the consensus, every coach loves to talk about paint touches or touching the paint, and that's what AJ Hogarth does. Like pretty much anytime he's running point, he'll get you a paint touch, he'll get to the rim, or he'll find someone who's open. So and I think Fears might be like the best backup point guard in the country. Is that fair to say? Like I might have to think about that a little bit more, but I don't think there's anyone on this list who has a guy they can bring off the bench that's as good as Jeremy Fears. So Michigan State would be number one pretty easily. USC was a team I thought was too low just because I'm a huge believer in Isaiah Collier. I know some of the 3-man weave guys were on with Mark Titus, and they were talking about how this is a down class. I can't remember if it was one of them or Titus that said that Collier looked more like the 10th ranked player in a good class and the number one player. I strongly disagree with that. I think Collier is freaking awesome. He's someone who I wouldn't be surprised if he's averaging 16 and 6 this year on good efficiency. And then as far as teams that didn't make the list that I want to go to bat for is Ohio State. And as y'all were talking about players in the Big Ten who have the best shot to break through to that top 5, I got to roll with Bruce Thornton. I think he is poised for stardom this year. And as I know we've talked about this on this program before, but I love Roddy Gale too. So I'm pretty in on the Buckeyes, and especially if you want to loop Scotty Middleton in as kind of a guard, as a big as a big guard, 6'7" guard, that Ohio State trifecta should be pretty solid.
I'm with that. Last thing I want to add before we go to the last topic is that I think Texas should be higher. I think Texas should be A. Smith and Tyrese Hunter is an awesome backcourt. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that should be higher.
I look at the 11 through 20 range too, and there's a lot of coaches that are known for great backcourts on here that maybe I don't like the players as much this year. Like Scott Drew, Baylor's at 12, Muss at 16 with Arkansas, Arizona at 18. I know people like Caleb Love and they bring other guys back, but to me, if you offered those 3 coaches, if they could have their actual backcourt or Jameer Young and Deshaun Harris-Smith, they would take Jameer Young and Deshaun Harris-Smith and go running in the opposite direction. And Maryland's nowhere to be found on this list. So I don't know, a little Big Ten heavy for me, but just saying.
All right. Shall we wrap it up with the last topic?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's hit on two football games this weekend. One with Cart's team, kind of Greg's team, one with mine. We can start by talking Michigan State playing host to Washington. I just want to I'll turn it over to Carter. D'Antonio's coming back. But what are your expectations for this game, Carter? What do you think Michigan State needs to do to get a win against a really good Washington team?
So coming into this game, before everything happened that we don't need to speak on because everybody knows, we spoke about it every episode leading up to this one this week, I was feeling pretty good actually about this game. I was going to be all over the plus 17 it was at. I think maybe, plus 17 is what it led at. I thought that there was revenge on the mind after what happened last year. We went out to Washington. I thought that Noah Kim's been actually showing some things. I feel like we had some guys, some playmakers at wide receiver. Jacoby Windman being out hurts us, I think. I don't think he's going to play. He had a pectoral injury last week, but we get to see an exciting freshman in Jordan Hall, which people are pretty excited about in East Lansing to see what kind of he's made of. It's a night game. They were honoring the Rose Bowl team before all this even happened. So there's just going to be a lot of excitement around Spartan Stadium. And I don't think that they were as bad as a team as people were making them out to seem. And the fact that I'll get 17 points, I was going to be all over that. And even money line, I thought that we could pull this out at home and guys could make enough plays. Given everything else, who knows if it's going to be a distraction or something that's going to fuel them. I personally think it's going to fuel them just playing football and doing this. But I don't want to spoil what my one big thing was for today. So I'm going to cut it off at this point.
I love it. Yeah, Michigan State's winning this game. That's my take. That's my belief. I wrote about it in the newsletter. I didn't go as strongly to say I'm putting my money where my mouth is, but Michigan State plus 16 is my favorite bet of the week. I have them winning outright in the one little long shot parlay I do. I have 1,000 reasons for this that are all partially football related, but look, man, vibes are a thing. Okay. I'm a vibes guy. Everybody knows this. I think this is very much a come together moment for this football program, for this university, for the fan base, for everything. The elephant in the room here was that we were all pretending to like Mel Tucker. It is what it is. Michigan State fans can say it's not true.
Was not pretending.
Okay, fine. But like now that it's all changing, there's a whole lot of people coming out and be like, can we get rid of these stupid gimmicks now? Including you being like, can we get rid of the keep chopping? Can we just go back to the tradition of walking by the stupid statue that Mel got rid of for no reason? Like every little decision he made in his tenure. All right, roll your eyes. Fine, whatever. You feel differently than I do. Never mind. Go Washington. Go to Riley.
I would just state. I just want to state my fact that I like Mel before like this.
Congratulations.
I wanted Mel to be my football coach before this. That's where.
All right, you look stupid, as I've been telling you for 2 years. But congrats, hang that banner. You liked Mel Tucker. Whoop-de-doo.
I'm just saying. And you hated him. That's a thing.
Okay.
From the off rip, no matter what he did, you would always hate him.
And are you now saying you're right and I'm wrong? Is that where you're going?
No, I'm not. It's not even a right or wrong thing. I just want to get it stated.
Doubling down on you liked Mel Tucker is a move.
I liked my football coach. Is that wild?
Congratulations. Like,
right.
Again,
you didn't.
And as did many people in your fan base are now coming out and saying how stupid everything he did was. You just won't do it for some reason.
I agree.
So, okay. All right. So all of my reasons are pointless. And all of my reasons why I think Michigan State can win this game, why I think Carter's team can win this game are all pointless because none of them matter to Carter because Mel was doing a great job.
It matters everybody else, though. I'm only one guy.
Let's go to, should we talk Carolina? Well, what's the Carolina stance?
First off, some great back and forth between the two of you, but it's funny that we just got through that segment without talking at all about the top 8 team with a Heisman contender quarterback. But am I crazy to think that Penix is like the biggest threat to Caleb Williams repeating as a Heisman contender? I know that they haven't really beat. I mean, Boise State's a good program. You can't put too much in the Tulsa win, I guess, but like over 400 yards in both those games, 8 touchdowns right now. Their receivers are always open. I like this Washington team a lot, but that's what I'll be watching for this Saturday.
I love Penix. I think he's good.
I do too. And he's a Spartan killer. Like he is. Okay, I just came up with this just now, so this might not actually make sense, but I feel like G can chime in on this. He's like the football version of Boo Booey to Michigan State. Like, he always torches us. He always has. Boo Booey always torching Michigan State basketball.
Yeah.
We'll do it again this year.
Purple teams. I don't hate that.
Mm. And I mean, with Penix, I also just love lefty QBs. Like, Greg, you know this. I'm a Tua Tagovailoa owner in our fantasy league, and I have a long history of just being a huge Tua fan back to when he was at Alabama, and I was watching him throw these lefty deep bombs and envisioning them going to Mike Evans one day when I was like, this was the pre-Brady era of my Bucks when I was like, okay, tank for Tua. Let's get that connection going. And I get those same kind of vibes watching Michael Penix. Just there's something about a lefty QB when they launch that when they launch that thing, it just looks like it's faster than when a righty throws it. So
hey, I just want to note too, right back to my Bucks also. Right back.
Shout out to Matt Leinart, lefty QB. Love him.
Wanted bandwagon pass last week, right back to my Bucks this week. I love you, fair. Riley. I truly do, sir.
They are still my Bucks. All right, we can close by talking UNC hosting Minnesota, just because this would throw it back to one of the first Riley Fridays when I started talking about why UNC would be a good Big Ten football team and realized I was making a huge mistake. At the same time, I don't think Minnesota's that good. Like, all I really know about them is they got into a 13-10 rock fight against Nebraska. So, like, what do I need to know about this Minnesota team going into Saturday? Aside from PJ Fleck's going to be wearing a tie.
I don't really know if I can give you any backdrop on it. You guys can't stop anybody though, so you're not going to stop Minnesota. You guys couldn't stop Nebraska. Jeff Sims might look like Caleb Williams against y'all.
Jeff Sims tore UNC up when he was at Georgia Tech like 2 years ago.
That checks out,
bad, dude.
You guys can't stop anybody.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me if I'm staying away from UNC -8, I could not get further away from that.
Yeah, Minnesota has played Nebraska, who let Colorado do whatever they want in the second half, and Eastern Michigan. Those are their 2 games. They're averaging 19 points per game. So adjusted by North Carolina football defense inflation rate, they should score 41 points in this game. So I think as long as you get 6 touchdowns, which seems likely, you should be fine. However, Minnesota's defense has pretty much dominated both of their games so far against bad offenses, albeit, but I don't know. I was texting you frustrated about it, man, because I had North Carolina just to beat App State, and yeah, it was a bet, and yeah, I'm doing the thing where you shouldn't just bet and complain about your bets, but like the fact that North Carolina couldn't create separation against this Appalachian State team after how close the game was the year before, and after you did bring Drake May back, and App State was going through some changes at home, this bothered me so much. Like, I just can't take this football program seriously. This is what they're always going to be to me. They're going to be a super fun team to watch. It doesn't matter how well Drake May plays. For the record, I thought Drake May was bad last week, though. And I know it wasn't all his fault. It wasn't even like half his fault, but he's not. Like, I think if you put Caleb Williams on this North Carolina team, he's good enough to get through the bullshit around him and actually create some separation against bad teams. Drake May's not that. And I know the play calling's not helping him, but I don't know. I just need to see more. I think they're going to lose a game they shouldn't at some point. I feel like it's a threat to happen every single week. This would qualify. They should beat Minnesota, but 7.5 points is a scary, scary number from a betting perspective. I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, I think going into the season, I thought we would. I mean, that's just what UNC football does. We're the program like history says that we'll lose 2 games we should win. But I also thought like Drake May would be good enough to win 3 games we should lose, and that we'd end up being like 8-4 or something. But unless our receivers, it's not just Tez Walker, but we got to transfer Nate McCollum from Georgia Tech, who's supposed to apparently was like the second best receiver during the offseason and during camp and everything. And he was been limited with injury. And he's someone who's that slot receiver who's is supposed to be filling the Josh Downs role. And he's going to be back this week. And so I'm interested to see how that happens, because I don't know. I just want to see this play calling, like let Drake throw the ball downfield. But at the same time, I don't know if we have any receivers right now that are like a downfield threat. So like, I want to see us open it up a little bit more, because I was looking today, just at the slate on Saturday. Drake May has less passing yards right now than Graham Mertz.
We got robbed of Drake May at Notre Dame. Gee, you brought it up. Like, we shouldn't be watching Drake May at Notre Dame.
No, we shouldn't. Let's stop. Let's stop. Drake he's a Carolina legend, Carolina royalty.
I know. And luckily his last name is May, because if it was Wilson, he'd be somewhere else right now.
Notre Dame wins the national championship. Drake May is their quarterback, by the way. Instead, North Carolina might win the Holiday Inn Bowl or whatever. I don't know. Maybe
Pinstripe Bowl. Y'all be go to the Pinstripe Bowl in Detroit
against Michigan State. We'll see you there.
Some programs would kill for an invite to the Pinstripe Bowl right now.
Facts. Big facts.
All right, fun topics today. Thank you, Riley. I appreciate it. Let's move to one big thing presented by Bigby. Who wants to go first today? Any takers? We can let Cart go last, because apparently he's saving something special for this. So
it's not special, but it is Michigan State football related.
Okay. Well, why don't we let you go last? I can go first, or Riley can go first. Your pick, Riley.
I'll go ahead and get mine going. So I'm going to give a shout out to this actually came to me with a stroke of inspiration seeing Carter's shirt. Shout out to Kids Books. I know, Greg, you've probably got a lot when when Mallory was pregnant. Like, we've gotten so many books for our child. Still has not been born yet. Due date's coming up 4 days, so we'll see what happens. But one book we got was a gift called Tomorrow I'll Be Brave. That's full of inspirational sayings. However, there was one page that said, "Winning doesn't matter as long as I have fun." And as I was reading it, I was like, hold on, not so fast. And that's where I just want to say I'm very much in the camp of Carter's shirt of winning cures everything, winning fixes everything. And we'll be skipping over that page whenever I'm reading this to my child.
I love that style of parenting, Riley. I truly do.
Yeah, you should just rip that page out of the book, to be honest. I'll give you some good book recommendations. I got some good ones right now. We got a nice little rotation. Okay, I'm going to cheat and do 2 things for my one big thing, because I had one I had prepared, and now I have one that, now that I know the due date's 4 days away, I just want to say. So I'll start with my one I had prepared. I hate the meme template of the Taylor Swift thing that people are doing right now, where it's like, ooh, source says Taylor Swift has been dating our backup quarterback. I despise that shit. It's so stupid. It's not original. Even when it was original, it wasn't funny whatsoever. And there's just like hundreds of thousands of fans of whatever team across the country right now, or band, or whatever the meme is from, whether it's sports or music or something else, that are just complete idiots that think this is hilarious and can't rush to retweet it fast enough. Like, oh, Go Tony 12 says Taylor Swift is dating Alex Orgy. That's so funny. It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Retire it immediately, please. Now for my genuine one. I'm excited for you, Riley, because this is a really fun time. I remember I was terrified at the moment 4 days before the due date. You're probably feeling some nerves and some anxiety. I can promise you, friend to friend, it's the greatest thing that will ever happen in your life. It's brought so much joy to my wife and I's life. You're going to be a fantastic dad. From what I know about Nat, she's going to be a fantastic mom. And I really appreciate our friendship we've struck the last 2 years. I'm excited to become dads together, because I feel like we can bond and help each other through a lot of things. So I'm looking forward to this, my friend. Best of luck with everything. You're going to do great.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
That was great. I'm going to be your guys' like assistant analyst. Like, I'm going to be the position that Mel Tucker's going to get in 4 years on Saban's staff. My one big thing for today is it's a Michigan State football related thing. And it's not, I'm trying to figure out how I actually want to word this. Is it
about how you still wish the coach was still the coach, and
No.
you're holding your stock, and that was never
No, because that's not what I said at all. All I said was that at the time when Mel Tucker was my football coach, I liked my football coach. That's all I'm saying. Now I don't like my football coach because he
still like
does stuff on Zoom. But what I want to say is that if Harlan Bennett, because he's an interim head coach, right?
It's literally Harlan Barnett.
Harlan Barnett. My apologies on that. I messed it up on the newsletter too. Harlan Barnett, the interim head coach. If he does, let's say Michigan State does bad, right? I think people might pile on him. If Michigan State does good, I feel like people are going to give D'Antonio the credit. All I want to say is that I think that shouldn't be the case. I don't want all the credit to go to D'Antonio because I don't think he is doing enough to actually impact that necessarily. But he can't be left out of Michigan State football doesn't do good this year, because I feel like it's trending towards, if Michigan State does turn the corner, it's because we brought back D'Antonio, and I just don't want that to be the case. That's my one big thing. All
right. Great vibes heading into this game. Let's make sure Mark D'Antonio gets no credit in his exciting return to Michigan State football. It sounds like you could not be more excited for this Washington-Michigan State game card. I'm looking forward to it for you. Beer sales will be in the stadium. So are you going to the game? Are you going to the game or no?
Nope, not going to the game.
Is it because you're upset that Mel's no longer there and you can't support Mark D'Antonio coming back to the program, taking a stand?
End the episode, man.
I'm just wondering. I'm confused on where everything's at. All right. Fun episode today. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks to everybody for listening. We'll be back next week. Who knows if there will be a Riley Friday next Friday. Hopefully there's a baby in Riley's future. So have a great weekend, everybody. Go green.